Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Brothers and sisters, welcome to the Encounter program sponsored by the Broome County Council of Churches. I'm your host today, Mark Kimpland, the pastor at the Endwell United Methodist Church. I am very excited about this program, this show, and so I want to just jump right into the show today to introduce our guest. Our guest today is the Reverend Corey Turnpenny, the pastor at the Whitney United Methodist Church, and also of a new church start in this area that I just can't wait to start asking some questions about and getting her reflections on. And that church is entitled The Church in the Wild. So Corey, welcome to the Encounter program. I'm so glad that you're with us and that we can make this happen. So welcome.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's dive right into this. We've only got a short period of time, and I've got a whole list of questions here that I can't wait to get the answer to. First, you are well known in this area, and many people have either met you or heard of you and your wonderful ministry at Whitney Point. But for those that may not know who you are, could you just share a little bit about yourself, your journey, your call? What's brought you to this point in time in your life? Anything that you'd like to share with us would be awesome.
Absolutely. I have long been a active member of the United Methodist conferences in the area. I grew up in the former Wyoming conference down in Pennsylvania, and started going to Sky Lake camp in Windsor as a child, and really felt a confirmation of my call to ministry there, and such great support. And I didn't feel like as a child, I was basically 12, 13 when I felt a call to ministry. That's a hard thing to deal with. And at Sky Lake, there were other people who expressed that as well. And I didn't feel strange, and I was encouraged and accepted for who I was, as is everyone. And so that was a huge part of my formation, and continued to remain involved in the church through college and seminary. I went to Colgate, Rochester, Crozier Divinity School when I was living in Buffalo for a time. And then I was called back to this area for my first appointment at Whitney Point 8 years ago. And that was a joy to come back to the area, to reconnect and get more involved again with the ministry at Sky Lake. And I've been serving the Whitney Point Church now for 8 years. And our time together is coming to an end. I'm going to be reappointed to focus solely on Church in the Wild, which is a vision that has been put on to my heart. Reluctantly began this journey about 2 years ago now, and have sort of just been holding on for the ride ever since. I have just been amazed at how the Spirit has led us to this point that we are about to launch weekly worship in June. So here we are.
Yeah. Well, let me ask, go a little deeper with that. So here you are serving a wonderful congregation, doing wonderful work at the Whitney Point United Methodist Church. There is that transition time, but how did you go from that time in a church with walls, and an institutional situation, and then how did that call happen to venture this way? How did that? Can you take us through that a little bit?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I attended a national conference 2 years ago, the Forward conference. That was a meeting of various United Methodists from across the country to think about what is the future of our denomination? What do we want it to look like? It was very inspiring conference. And as I was driving home late from the airport, returning from that, I just really started talking with God about, not just the future of the denomination, but the future of local churches and what might that look like. And I've been saying it wasn't so much a call as a suggestion from God, where I felt like God sort of said, well, you could start your own church. And I immediately said, no, God, that's ridiculous. I don't want to do that. I don't ever feel like I could do that. It's such a huge task. And of course, that thought just wouldn't leave me alone. And then one day, a few months later, after wrestling with what would that even look like, not having any of my own good ideas, I was talking with a group of colleagues and I heard myself say, I just want to be the pastor at Sky Lake. And all of a sudden, it was like all the ideas for Church in the Wild just started flooding into my brain, that this could be a spiritual community that meets at Sky Lake, but that serves throughout the Binghamton area. That, we wouldn't have to take care of a building, that we could meet at Sky Lake and enjoy God's creation, be in God's own cathedral out there on the shores of that beautiful lake, and worship together, and then meet as we're able in other places and sort of be on the move and be where people are, to be serving and supporting the great work that's already going on. So it's, yeah, go ahead.
So it was really the verbalization of that really kind of got the, boy, there's a sermon or five in there, the idea of verbalizing what it is that God's calling us to do. Wow. Well, let me ask a very human question. I'm going to really talk about the Church in the Wild, but how has that transition been, knowing that you're leaving your present church and moving into this? How have you worked through that, or how has the congregation worked through that and such?
Well, the Whitney Point Church has been really supportive. Last year, I shared with them that I felt this calling, and they said, that's really exciting. We want to support you as you, begin the small steps. So they were happy to sort of allow me to use some of my working hours to work on Church in the Wild and to start building this formal ministry. And then as that year went on, it became clear God was really pushing me to kind of be all in with that. And as hard as it is to have to admit that, it's time to go, God is calling me onward, especially from a community that I've grown so close with and love and, feel a great connection to and supported by. And of course, they continue to be really supportive and encouraging and, saying, we're sad for us, but happy for you. We can tell, we know this is, God's calling for you. So we'll miss you and be well, and lots of folks are excited about checking it out and hopefully coming to some of our retreats and other things we'll be offering to local churches.
Awesome. Friends, our guest this morning is the Reverend Corey Turnpenny, the pastor of the Whitney Point United Methodist Church and the Church in the Wild. And let's focus right there for right now. What are some of the core values? So here you are, you're launching this new experience, learning as you go. What have you formed as some of the core values of the Church in the Wild?
Yeah, we had a great team get excited about this early on, and we started meeting to develop, our name and our mission and core values. And right away we said, we want to be an alternative place. This is, as we talk about in the Methodist conference here, new faith communities are supposed to be new places for new people. So people that the church on the corner isn't attracting right now for whatever reason. There are just some people who aren't going to walk into a church building. So we want to meet them where they are, outdoors. We know a lot of people that love to be outside, live to spend their time on the weekends outdoors and don't want to sacrifice even an hour on Sunday morning to be inside. So we want to meet them where they are. We want to be alternative in that way, that we don't have a building. Certainly, we thought about our friends that we know who fall into this category, are folks who don't want to have to check their brain at the door, that they want to be able to reconcile how science and faith interact with each other and that they don't contradict. And so we want to encourage that and help people understand that faith and science can inform each other. And of course, we want to be an inclusive community where all people are welcome. So that was high on our list, and working for social justice. So we care a lot about the earth and the environment, and we see that being this one and the same as caring for people. We are part of God's creation. And so when we care for humanity, we're caring for creation. They're one and the same to us. So we want to be workers for justice for the earth and all life.
Let me ask this. Truly, and I can see this in your smile and in your heart and in your voice, your theology has shaped this, or at least been attentive to shaping this, and probably its shaping has affected your theology. Can you kind of take us through that? How has this whole experience defined, redefined, honed in, changed your theology?
Yeah, we have done a lot of that conversating together about all of this, and coming in each individual with what we're hoping this will be about and focus. And then as the conversations go, you're right, they mold and meld. And I've been struck by going into it, we didn't have that focus necessarily about social justice and environmental justice. That was something that we realized as we're talking about, we want to be a part of the movements in the Southern Tier to work for equal rights and, protect people and house and feed people. And we realized right away, hey, yeah, that's creation care. So we're learning and growing, as you said, with this process. And we're really excited about continuing that as we worship together and continue to hold different events. So we really want to start with service and build community in and around how we serve the larger community. And as we have continued to discuss our core values, we've realized that community is another one of them, because for a lot of folks, they might not go to church. We talked about how they might go for a run Sunday mornings and listen to a podcast and feel like they've got some good advice or something from an expert, and they can enjoy the outdoors. But what is missing from that is a community of people that is there for you to support you, and that will wrestle with the big questions in life with you. And so we realize everybody needs that sense of community, and that's something that has really grown more important and stronger for us as we've continued this journey.
Yeah. A real practical question here, Corey, about this. Can you say a little bit about the team that's formed and such things? And what's the relationship then between what you're doing, the team, and this new ministry, and Sky Lake? How is that synergy created? And so,
Yeah, we're so excited because it's really going to be a beautiful, mutually beneficial relationship. And the director of Skylake, Matt Williams, is on our board. So he is directly involved and helps inform, our decisions. And we have several other local Methodists, including another pastor, Jan Clark from Fairview. And we have a couple others who are outside of our Methodist circle, which we're so excited about. Some UCC, Episcopal, Presbyterian, and non-churched folks on our team. And we hope that diversity will help us to continue to be a little bit more ecumenical and even interfaith in our practice and worship, that we can really welcome everybody and share wisdom from many traditions to inform us as we serve God and our community.
friends, we have as our guest today the Reverend Corey Turnpenny, who is the new pastor of the Church in the Wild. And this is what we're talking about today. And from one pastor to another, I've got to ask this next question. What have you seen as your biggest challenges here as you've moved forward, and maybe even challenges looking even further ahead? Can you outline some of those for us?
I think, honestly, one of my biggest challenges is my own fear and having to really almost daily push that aside and choose trust and choose faith, that I keep reminding myself, we wouldn't have made it this far if this wasn't, God inspired. And all along the way, we have seen how the Spirit has been with us, guiding us, and things have been working out really well so far. Some of the challenges, besides fear, are, just the administrative, starting a brand new nonprofit organization in New York State, a church especially. There's a lot of boxes to check off as we go to get things sort of official. So we are working one step at a time on all of that, but it is certainly a serious undertaking that intellectually that it's going to be, but as you approach the checklist, it can be a little overwhelming sometimes. So just to focus on things one step at a time has been helpful.
When we were in conversation about the possibility of doing this show together, I asked for some questions, and I've been kind of using some of those, but one of them intrigued me, and I'd like to just read it the way you wrote it, if that's okay. What's something you've learned in the wild you couldn't have learned in a church building? I thought that was an intriguing question, and so I kind of posed that to you, and you can take that in whatever direction you'd like to take that. I thought that was an intriguing question.
I think that it reminds me of the kind of one of our our theme scriptures for Church in the Wild comes from the book of Job, interestingly enough, in the 12th chapter, I think. I'm not a verse and quoter usually, but he says, listen to the earth, listen to the birds, they'll tell you about God. Listen to the fish. They know all about our Creator. And so I have been struck by that encouragement from ancient scripture, that how important it is for us still today to do that, to stop and to listen what's going on in nature, and how much we can learn simply by sitting silently. And how important it is for us to do that. It helps us in so many ways physically. It's good for us to slow our breathing, lower our blood pressure, all of that wonderful things. But it also, I think it's part of our humanity to stop and look at something beautiful. It gets your frontal cortex just buzzing away with those bigger questions about, who's behind all of this. When you look at creation, it reminds you there is a creator. And so I think that's what's really been striking me lately, is the need and the importance to get outdoors and to just engage, to listen and look and wonder with creation.
Because within that building, there certainly is a sequestering of sorts, where you're here, and this is your here until we get there. With the Church in the Wild, you're already there.
Right. Yeah, there's this great quote from John Muir, who's, an early adventurer and a big part of the national parks. And he said, "I would rather be in the mountains thinking about God than in church thinking about the mountains." And we just love that quote because we say, let's do both. Why does it have to be one or the other? We can be in the mountains thinking about God and have church there.
Yes, wonderful quote. That is awesome. We have a very, and I've been struck by this over the last 5-6 years, that we have a very diverse group of folks that tune into this program. And so I would just like to ask you, in that diversity of people, there are good church people who are listening to this for the very first time, maybe getting excited and wondering, what can I do to assist or support? And there may be the folks that have no church community. They're searching for a church community. What would be your words of wisdom for both sides and everything in the middle of that, as to how people might be able to reach out and contact you, or what advice could you give to them in their search?
Absolutely. We are so excited to connect with both of those types of people. We are launching our weekly worship Sundays at 4 p.m. So we hope this will allow people who attend church, are members of a brick and mortar church, to come and add this into their spiritual life, that having another point of connection to God is never a bad thing. And of course, we are creating this new community to reach new people. And so we would certainly encourage people that haven't found a connection to a spiritual community yet to give us a try. You can find us online at churchinthewild.org. Easy website to remember, and from there you can find links to Facebook and Instagram, and find out about our events and sign up for our newsletter, our email newsletter. So there's lots of ways to connect and stay connected. And like I said, we'll be launching weekly worship the first Sunday of June at Sky Lake in Windsor. We know it's a little bit of a drive, but there is a reason for that. We need to leave behind our busyness. We need to come away, and we are planning worship to feel like a mini retreat. So when you come, you'll be encouraged to leave your phone in your car. There'll be no technology. You get to unplug completely for an hour outdoors and just soak up all that God has to give. We have a lot of folks who have been so supportive already. And so we are continuing to do some stuff online, as we have been this past year. We're going to be holding monthly meditations on Zoom. And so you can find all of these informations. We're doing monthly work days at various groups throughout Binghamton. We helped Binghamton Food Rescue. We'll be doing a work day with Sky Lake and Vines in the future. So you can connect with us through service, through worship, through meditation, and we'll be doing some book studies and things coming up in the fall. We also have some retreats that you can see on our website coming up, just a couple one-day retreats in May, but we're planning some weekend retreats for the fall as well. So there's lots of ways to connect. We want to help churches, bring aspects of creation care to their ministries. So we're hoping to produce some liturgy and curriculum for brick and mortar churches to use to bring this very important aspect to their ministries. And we would love for people to come join us in the wild Sundays at 4 at Sky Lake.
Let me ask this question before I ask for a final a bit of wisdom from you. What about financial support and such things? So those that are listening, especially for those that are connected with the church, that might be able to do that, might be able to to support it financially. What would your recommendation be there?
We have a tab on our website to donate, and we are so appreciative of everyone who's already supported. We had a fantastic crowdfunding campaign leading up to Earth Day and raised over $5,000 just with small donations. And we were very excited about that. However, we still have a long way to go to fund our first year budget, which we are hoping to have fully funded at the start so that we can focus on ministry and service and not be overwhelmed by fundraising all the time.
Is there something you want to share in concluding that maybe we haven't covered, or something you want to just kind of reemphasize to our viewers and our listeners?
Well, we feel like this is a really needed thing for the world right now. And we can see that through so much wonderful support already, that other people recognize it's needed as well. I think after a year of doing everything online, we really need to disconnect, but still have community. And so we're excited that we were already planning to be outdoors. We're able to be a little bit safer in that space with masks and everything, but still see each other face to face, have that community together in person, disconnect from our technology for a little while, and focus ourselves on creation. We know that'll inspire folks to care for it, which is obviously a huge issue that needs to be addressed on all levels, but it starts in our hearts, and so that's what we want to help people to do.
Wonderful. Brothers and sisters, our guest today has been the Reverend Corey Turnpenny, the pastor at the Church in the Wild that is now beginning to launch its ministry. So, Corey, thank you so much for being a part of the show. And brothers and sisters, thank you for tuning in, and may God bless you as we live this life together in grace. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.